K&N's a company that's been selling air filters since 1969 to consumers. We invented the high-flow cotton air filter that's washable and reusable and can actually last for the life of a vehicle. And there's nothing that this company feels is more important than the quality of the products that we sell or the satisfaction of our consumers after they purchase those products and put them in vehicles, which in most cases are going to be in those vehicles for as long as our customers own them. But truly, each individual consumer experience with a K&N product is what has gotten this company to be perceived by many to be the world's best air filter company. I think what you're about to see you'll find interesting, because not only do we get deeply into the issue of mass airflow sensors and how they operate within a vehicle environment, but we learned a lot more about the actual physical processes of air moving through the filter and into an engine than even we had understood before, and we, to greater or lesser extent, have been studying this for over 35 years.
Early on, we recognized that the consumer was in the middle in an incident like this with his mass airflow sensor and his new car warranty. We also understand that the dealership is many times in the middle also between a consumer and a district representative. So both parties are in the middle. Our goal is to give both of them information that they can use to solve the problem. We just refuse to allow our customer to be in the middle of a situation like this. We stand behind our product. Once we recover the sensor and all the components, what we do is we issue it a number so that we can track it from beginning to end through our system. We'll put the components into the lab, and what we initially do to start out with is for the mass air sensor, we'll take that mass air sensor and we'll look at it under a microscope and actually see at a 5,000 times magnification what is going on with it. Was it contaminated at all? If it's a dry contamination, we just continue on with running it on the test stand. If there's any dampness, if there is a contamination on it, and if it has any dampness property whatsoever to it, what we will do is we have an agreement set up with a forensics laboratory nearby, and we will send it to them, and they'll do a complete chemical and elemental analysis on it. They've already done a complete analysis on our filter oil, so they know what to look for and what to compare it against. And we receive that back from the lab with a determination: is it just oil, common minerals, whatever is on the mass air sensor. We get their diagnosis back from them. Then we will run it on the test stand and see how it runs. How does it compare to a new one?
The test stand features a variable airflow source along with a constant mass air meter that is calibrated annually. This gives us repeatability, and with the computer-generated data acquisition system, gives us very smooth, consistent, and repeatable data.
In our testing, we used two different style mass air sensors, the hot wire sensor and the hot film sensor. These are the two commonly used sensors in the automotive industry, and they work according to the same principle. When the engine is running and air flows through the intake and through the mass air sensor, the air that flows by actually cools down the element. So the ECU has to add extra voltage to maintain a certain temperature. That voltage difference is used to determine the airflow in the engine.
To provide you with an overall summary of the results of our testing, I'm going to share with you some specific information and refer you to some charts. As of February 2007, we've physically recovered and subjected to testing 107 individual mass airflow sensors of different types and varieties depending upon the circumstances or the vehicles that they came out of. Now, out of the 107 sensors that we physically looked at in this way over the last 2.5 years, I guess it's been, there were 65 of the sensors that were actually functioning perfectly fine. So in other words, 65, over 50% of the 107 sensors that we recovered were never malfunctioning in the first place. Out of the 42 sensors that we found to be malfunctioning, 19 of them were the result of a complete electronic failure, which means that when we would apply an electrical voltage to one end of the sensor, regardless of the condition of the sensor, it should still be able to pass some level of current to the other end of the sensor if the material is simply conducting electricity. And in 19 of these cases, there was no conduction happening at all, so it was in essence a material failure in that it would no longer conduct any voltage at all through the sensor. In the remaining 23 of the cases, what we found when we put the sensors on the test bench was that the measurements of the levels of current that were passing through the sensor when subjected to different amounts of airflow would be out of tolerance or out of range, as we would say. So in other words, when compared to a brand new, perfectly functioning sensor, we could detect that the 23 sensors we're talking about now were not passing or were not fluctuating their signal in a manner similar to a new sensor. Again, to summarize, out of the 23 sensors that we tested as malfunctioning out of a total population of 107, 14 of those sensors were contaminated with silicone. 5 of those sensors had some level of dirt visible on them at high magnification, and 4 of the sensors were perfectly clean. None of the sensors that failed on the test bench or that showed any deviation from the amount of electrical current they should be passing when compared to a new sensor, none of them had any K&N filter oil on them when subjected to a chemical analysis. We've discovered that oil will not come off of a K&N air filter under any normal operating conditions inside of a vehicle.
Our goal in performing this extensive investigation into the mass air sensors is to determine not who is at fault, but just what happened in the incident. We will use this information to assist the dealer to better understand and also to aid the customer in this warranty issue.
On behalf of K&N, I guess I can say that the best thing about this entire process we've been through is the extent to which it's reconnected us with real consumer experiences with our product in the world as they take their cars into dealerships. And it's helped us understand how important it is for a manufacturer to not just stand behind its products, but to stand behind its consumers. And so in addition to the fact that we sell replacement air filters that are backed by the world's first million-mile warranty, we now actually offer something that we call our Consumer Protection Pledge, which means that we pledge that consumers that buy and use K&N products will never be allowed to be in a position where they're in the middle between a service provider or a dealership who believes our product has caused a problem and K&N. We have a dealer relations department now who will step right into that situation, interact directly with the dealership or service provider, and resolve that consumer's problem one way or another. We're very proud of this pledge because we think recognizing our obligation to consumers is even one step ahead of backing our product with a million-mile warranty.